Guys, it happened. It is here. It is out now for us to consume. If you've been a regular listener of the show or a watcher of the show over the last 18 months, you'll know that I've been talking with the clubhouse leader in terms of appearances on the TUSC pod, the legend, the ABS, the Aussie boxing scribe himself, Anthony Cox. We've hinted and we've teased at an unbelievable project that he has literally spent 7 years working on. It is here, right there, guys. The Brawl at the Sydney Opera House and other Aussie boxing yarns, all about diving into the rich history of Australian boxing through the 70s and 80s. Guys, I've got mine. I can't wait to read it. It's just been released today. So when you see this, I will have already read it. We'll be talking about it on the pod. We'll get Tony back on the pod to talk about it. Don't worry about that. But it is available globally on Amazon.com for you to all enjoy. The link to the book will be in the description of this episode, so click away. And if you do, not only will you be reading and consuming a fantastic boxing-related piece of literature, but you'll also be supporting one of the best guys in the sport globally. So available now, guys, The Brawl at the Sydney Opera House and other Aussie boxing yarns.
Let's go and move with life. Let it go, something new tonight. Let's go and move with life. Let it go, something new tonight.
All right, well, here I am, joined once again by leading combat sports reporter for Code Sports, the man with the best fight night event coverage in the game. You've seen his name in just about every capital city's major newspaper and on previous episodes of this pod too. You might even see him pre-fight in Canelo's dressing room. It's returning mate of the show, Brendan Bradford. Brendan, thanks for joining us, mate. 24 hours to the hour since the fight ended yesterday. So good timing, mate. I thank you for making yourself available so soon for me.
No worries. Thanks for having me on. Always keen to jump on and break down and analyze fights. Especially one day after. I'm not big noting, but I'm on my phone here and I've just got a message from Tim Tszyu saying, "Thank you, bro. Appreciate it." I just sent him a congratulatory message.
Wow. Mate, that's perfect.
Which is pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Still, you can interview these blokes and talk to them, but I think every now and then something like that will happen, and it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. And even if I wanted to bury the lead, I can't now because that's a perfect segue. But I guess before we get to the actual fight itself, which we'll get to soon, mate, I can't think. Well, that's actually a lie. All Aussie boxing fight weeks are chaos. It's unbelievable. This one seemed to be especially full of drama. I think the only thing it lacked was a fight night glove controversy. Maybe there was something that happened behind the scenes. But what was the week like leading up to it, mate? Did it feel like this event was ever going to happen?
It was a really interesting build up. So it was kind of a slow burn Monday into Tuesday into Wednesday, then things started to pick up. And then all of a sudden, from sort of Thursday on, it was just a hurricane, a tornado. With the main ones being Stephen Fulton's weight, and then fight getting yanked. Looking for replacement fights and fighters. The drug testing situation with Tim and Errol. It was just but honestly, it's chaotic, and there are good weeks and bad weeks, and sometimes you're hunting around and scratching around for stories and nothing's popping off. But last week was one of those ones where things just, you do something and there'd be a great response or follow up, or Tim or Errol will say something that keeps the story or the video or whatever it is going. So it was as busy and sort of chaotic as it was. It was actually really enjoyable, which is often isn't the case. I actually enjoyed the build up in the fight week more than many fights in the last couple of years. And also that, that's credit to Errol Spence's team. They were so awesome. Tim and his crew as well. Big change with Tim at middleweight. Not as hungry, probably not as cranky in 5 week. So yeah, look, long story short, it's chaos, but having experienced plenty of chaos and turbulence over the last couple of years, it was actually a really, really fun build up.
Yeah, that's awesome, mate. Well, we thought, what was it, 2 weeks or 10 days out or whatever it was, that Jamal Charlo being denied the visa was going to be the biggest story pre-fight, and we will get to the fights. But cool boy Steph said, "Hold my beer," and maybe he was drinking too many beers. Who knows? But he
Yeah, someone
requested the
should have held
weight.
his dinner.
Yeah, requested the weight to go up the day before the weigh-in to 133 pounds, and then proceeded to weigh in at 139 and a half. I think everyone knows the particulars. But for you guys with boots on the ground covering the event, did you sort of have an inkling that this was potentially going to happen, or did it catch you guys by surprise like it caught all of us, or did you sort of have an idea of that it was coming?
It was, now that I think back on it, there were the signs if you wanted to read into it. At the time, not until the open workouts on the Thursday, he flat out didn't show up. So we got the tip off that he wasn't going to come down. And at that point, we were all just sort of thinking, righto, it's either a setup or whatever. And that was really teed up. It teed Liam Wilson up to sort of go off at him to say he's disrespectful, whatever. And the story didn't really happen that way. So we probably didn't lean into it. I don't know whether we might have done a sidebar on it or a couple of lines at the bottom of the story. It certainly wasn't a big talking point on the Thursday. And then the Friday at the press conference is when the request came through to move it to a catch weight at 133. So that was sort of more of a story. I don't know whether anyone anticipated him coming in so much heavier on Saturday morning. So the way it sort of worked out is there were a whole lot of flurries of phone calls and text messages starting at about 4 a.m. on Saturday morning. The official weigh-ins were at 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. And what I've been told is that Steph got down to something like 30, maybe 38 or 30, 38, or just under 38, and decided, realized, or whatever happened, I can't go any lower. That was early in the morning. And then he got to the official weigh-ins and he was 139 and a half. So he'd obviously gone back and just gone, nah, like this, I'm not going to make it. He must have had something to drink and something to eat. And, there's talk of maybe whether he thought just by going at 139, weighing in at whatever, they've flown him all the way out here. They'll keep the fight together. And, Liam Wilson said he doesn't care what weight it's at, he'll fight him. But yeah, kudos to No Limit for saying, no, we're not putting you on, we're not paying you. You're off. Like you're off. There was talk all through Saturday morning about getting a replacement for Fulton, and Ahmed Reda said he'll step up and fight Fulton, and there are a couple of other guys sounded out, local guys, to come and keep him, put him on the show. But I think once you obviously miss weight by that much, and you clearly haven't tried to get it off, he was given every possibility. They had a private chef for him all week. He landed 8 days ahead of the fight, which is earlier than a lot of guys land here, or earlier than a lot of Aussies who go over to the States to fight. No excuses whatsoever. So yeah, it still pisses me off 3-4 days on. He's a disgrace, mate. And the sad thing about boxing is that there's no like governing body to fine him or ban him or anything like that. But yeah, so sorry. Yeah, that's a long story.
Damn.
Still long.
sorry to be the downer, but it sort of had to be talked about. So was he basically on a plane out of the country that day? Like he didn't hang around for the fights, did he? Like what sort
I'm
of
not
happened?
actually sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't see him. Didn't see him at all. And because it was a Sydney fight, and I live in Sydney, like if we were away, you'd sort of just be hanging around the hotel, and you probably would have seen him or his crew around. But yeah, I didn't see him after the weigh-in, so I can only assume he's Yeah, I would imagine he'd be wanting to keep a pretty low profile
Yeah.
after something like that. Yeah, shocking.
Yeah, man, it sucks so bad for Cohen and for Lee Wilson as well. But on to more positive things, mate. Let's get on to the fight. So, yeah, we mentioned about 24 hours ago, the fight would have just ended as a clear unanimous decision victory for Tim Tszyu over Errol Spence, who subsequently retired in the ring after the fight as well, mate. There was so much talk about the Jeff Fennick alliance with Tim. We were all talking about the differences that Fennick might be able to bring to Tim's style. Did the version of Tim that we saw in the ring 24 hours ago, was that pretty much what you're expecting? Did anything surprise you about the game plan or Tim's in-ring performance?
I was actually surprised the way the fight went. It was more of a scrap than I had expected, especially from Spence, who if someone had told you 2 days ago that the fight's going to go the distance, the whole 12 rounds, you're thinking, all right, well, Spence, being such a classy, clever, skillful boxer is probably going to get the decision. But they both sort of, it was quite, yeah, it was just a battle at times. It was trench warfare. Spence was going to the body early, and Tim Tszyu came back at him, and a lot of infighting. Then Spence tried to go at range and got popped a few times, sort of around 6 or 7 onwards. So I was actually very surprised with the way the fight went. Like Tim was paying something like $7 to win a decision, and I think almost everyone that was previewing and predicting was saying if Tim's going to win, he's going to have to stop him early, pretty much, sort of first 5 rounds. And the longer the fight goes on, the better Errol Spence was supposed to have been. But not the way it worked out for various reasons. But just on the Jeff Fennick thing, I don't, and this is what Tim and Jeff have both told me in the lead up so many times, that Jeff's not going to come in and try and change his style. He's not going to try and turn him into Jeff 2.0 or 3.0. He's given him little tips and techniques and tactics, but more than anything, it's the mental and emotional side of things. I think that you saw in the ring on fight night come through what Jeff has been able to impart on Tim. You know, and all through since their link up, since it's been a crazy 12 months for Tim. Changes the team, family feuds, all the rest of it, and so much else going on behind the scenes. Through this whole, since they linked up, through the whole build up in fight camp, it's really, you've just seen a weight lifted off his shoulders. And so I think that's what Jeff was able to bring, and it's sort of a more confident Tim Tszyu in his own sort of. He's making the calls, he's calling the shots. Yes, Jeff is there as trainer, but it's not this army regimented thing that Tim had been, doing for so many years. He's been able to do a lot more of his own stuff. So there's a lot there, but I think a lot of it is the motivational and the mental and the emotional side of it.
Yeah, that's interesting because in terms of the in ring performance, I didn't really see too much different. He was much more patient, which I think is a positive, and in definitely the first 2 rounds, I think he changed it up kind of in round 3 or maybe 4. If haven't watched the fight back yet, but it looked like Tim came out with much better like classic hand positioning. Like the Zoo style is very sort of elbows out, square.
Yeah,
Big gaps, big space between, where the target area is. But he sort of came out much more compact, protecting himself better, a little bit more bladed than he normally is. But it was very passive in the first 2 rounds, and I don't know if that was a deliberate tactic. That obviously Jeff had a hand in as well. It was like, all right, everyone's expecting us to blitz this guy. Let's do the opposite. Let's give him what they're not going to expect. That could be the case, or it also could be the case that maybe he's not fully comfortable generating his offense from sort of that newer, hand positioning and sort of that new stance or frame, if I can put it that way. So, but then from round 3 onwards, it looked like he kind of just went back to doing his thing his own way, how he's done it maybe the last 2 or 3 years. But the interesting thing with Tim, And there's some fighters like I look at the Maloneys. You always know what you're going to get with the Maloneys. They don't
Yeah,
look different in ring from fight to fight or from different eras of their career. Whereas for me, and I could be totally wrong, and maybe my interpretation's off, but Tim is like he's fought in almost like 6 or 7 different styles throughout his
yeah,
career, and he's kind of settled into this Terminator the last 2 or 3 years, which has led to a lot of his downfall too. But specifically with this fight, I thought it was from round 3 onwards, it was still that Terminator square. Like he's not the kind of guy that's going to twist through and like use his legs and his hips to generate power. He's more like an upper body puncher at this point. He's standing in front of guys. It's interesting he made the David Benavidez comparison because that's looked like what he was trying to do. He obviously hasn't perfected that style to the level that David Benavidez has, but sort of throwing the right hand like Callum Peters does. So he's certainly shifted. Like if you look at the version of Tim that fought Jeff Horn and the version that he has been the last 2 years, like they are chalk and cheese.
yeah,
They are so different.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
but they always do say, it takes 2 or 3 camps with a new trainer to really settle into any changes that are going to be made. So, yeah, a lot of commentary, mainly overseas. We're much more optimistic over here, of course, and bias for sure. That the American media is saying, look, yeah, Tim Tszyu clearly past his best. I'm not so sure. I still want to see the next two to three fights and give Jeff time to implement whatever changes they're working on. But is that sort of the feeling you have? Like, what do you think we're going to be
yeah,
seeing with Tim and those style changes or preference changes sort of moving forward?
yeah, absolutely. Just give it a wee bit more. Let him. That's his first time fighting at 160 in years, if he's ever. I think maybe in the first year of his career. So, first time as a legit middleweight. Next time he'll be, just have that experience. He'll know what to expect, how his body's going to feel. He may even be a little bit bigger, I would imagine, because this fight got moved from 58 to 60 relatively late notice. So that's a big element of it. And look, the Dennis Nudia fight in April, I think, was at 157, and he just looked a little. He didn't look great. I'll be honest. Like he looked sluggish. He looked a little bit stuck in the mud at times in that one. Like the power didn't translate. I don't think it was quite. I don't know. Yeah, it didn't feel natural for him. So, first fight at 160 is a big one. First fight with Fennec is another point. It's obviously he's not the Tim Tszyu of 2023. He's not that guy anymore. He's got wear and tear on the tires. He's been knocked down. He's been knocked out. He's been injured. So that there's all these things. So give it another. Well, by the time he fights again, I'd imagine they want to get him back later this year, end of this year, November, December. I don't know whether he'll want to go that soon. Actually, no, he probably will want to go that soon. yeah. But he maybe should.
Foxtel need him to go that soon. They got
packages
to sell. I said that.
Yeah.
Brendan.
So yeah, give it another 6 months training with Jeff and getting good sparring. The guys he sparred with for this camp. Now that we're through it all, there were a lot of people saying he hasn't had the elite level sparring for an Errol Spence, and obviously we can talk about what version of Errol Spence showed up on the weekend, but the guys he had in Thailand, I'm just told through people who know the scene there, not the guys I would have picked as the comments that were made to me. So yeah, just give him time to see how he looks. There's a lot of commentary. I think anyone expecting the Jeff Fennec link up with Tim Tszyu to be able to tap into the 2023 Tim Tszyu that beat Harrison and first won the world title. Just that fight is not there. He's 31. He's had crazy big fights and losses and come back and lost again. And so this is they're calling the Phoenix, and this is a different sort of era of his career. And I I think the jury's out, to be honest.
Mm.
It was a good win. It's the biggest, I would say, the best win of his career, and the amount of pressure and the questions he answered. But the jury's still out. But when I say that, it's not like that's a criticism or a negative. It's just, let's see how much better he can be. Let's see where he can get to. I spoke to Jeff yesterday, and after the fight, and he said, "Look, that's not even 50% of where he can get with the time and with the training and with the sparring and with the opponents that they want to get to." So, yeah, work in progress, I think, is the point there.
Yeah. Look, I was sort of speaking in the lead up that, I was looking forward to this fight so much because we're going to have questions answered on both sides, and I was expecting or hoping to come on, 24 hours later, do the pod and have all these answers to the things I've been wondering about. I guess on the Errol Spence side, we got those answers. He didn't look shot, but he did not look anywhere near his prime. Very slow. It was kind of messy, a hell of a lot of clinching. The whole fight, I kind of got a bit of stick for this comparison for being way too biased, but it reminded me of when Jeff Horn skipped junior middle and went to middleweight and fought Zarafa, welterweight world champion, sort of doing the weight tough.
Yeah,
One weight too high. I think Errol fell into that same sort of trap a little bit too. He didn't look big in there. He looked slower for carrying the extra size, and Tim was clearly the bigger, stronger guy. So I feel like we got especially with Errol retiring, we got the answers on Errol's end. But yeah, just like you said, I feel like instead of being able to put the whole puzzle together for Tim and like solve all the questions, we got a little piece. We've got a
yeah,
piece of the puzzle, but we're going to have to wait for that puzzle to become complete with more evidence, and the evidence being more fights, more time in the ring, for us to
yeah,
sort of make our
yeah,
judgments then. But
yeah. You got the little corner and the edge of the puzzle,
yeah,
and then you got to fill it in over the next year or so, I think.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So where do you think Tim goes next? Do you know if they have a specific path to a middleweight title in mind? Is it sort of still too early, too fresh? What do you think is going to happen there?
Well, the talk last week was if he beats Spence, they can do a WBA title against Erislandy Lara. Tough fight. Lara is just that guy. He's, you know, uh, a couple of people saying last night, if Lara lands some of the shots that Spence was able to, probably lights out for anyone, not just Tim Tszyu, for anyone. Even at 42, 43, and probably older. He's probably everyone's like he's probably closer to 50.
Yeah.
So very dangerous, but that's probably the quickest path, I would say. But there's also, after a fight like that and an occasion when you bring a big name down like that and the crowd and the hype and everything, there's also, I can imagine there would be the appetite just to do things like Charlo and Thurman, things just big fights, big money fights, big name fights, to cash in on this sort of version of Tim Tszyu. So whether they want to go world titles and which you look at the names around middleweight and the guys who have belts, they're not going to be the big money fights, or you could take the big occasion, the big money, the big names, and really cash in while it's hot again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting, mate. And in terms of like stock going up or down, like I think we're on hold, which I don't mean as a negative at the moment, but yeah, certainly could have been a disaster. It absolutely wasn't. So that was a positive. But yeah, in terms of what Tim has left and how high close to the high watermark of his career he can get back to. That remains to be seen. We'd only be purely guessing. But mate, I'm gonna switch up the order just in terms of the fight I want to talk about the most on the undercard. So we'll sort of do it out of order from it happened. But mate, Paulo Aokuso.
Oh,
My God, Luis Antonio Tejeda. I watched a fair bit of Tejeda coming into this fight, and I was convinced it was going to be an awesome fight. It
yeah,
exceeded my expectations. I mean, like clearly, fight of the night. The fight literally had everything. We'll talk about it, but
yeah,
were you expecting? Were you expecting it to be a banger like it was?
yeah. This was like the smoky on the card,
Yeah.
where you talk to people in fight week, you be like, "Gee, don't miss Paulo's fight." Um, and the idea behind making this fight was that Tejeda is similar enough in enough characteristics to Kira Rustin that you it's almost like a preview or a glimpse into how that potential fight might go, or how
Okay.
Paulo might go in it. Tejeda, I think, proved he's levels above being like the opponent or the gatekeeper to that fight. He was just incredible. There was a moment, I think it was after the fifth, maybe sixth round, where Paulo went back to his stool, slumped down, and I was like, "This is over. This is done." And then he just comes back, and a knockout. My word, knockout of the KO of the year domestically at least.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
man.
just amazing. But yeah, Tejeda, like speaking to Mike Altamura last night about this fight, and he just said Tejeda's just that one of those guys like that come out of the Caribbean, might not look like an Adonis like Paulo does, muscles on muscles, but just comes in as just boxing fit, just natural,
Yeah.
like can just throw, just punches coming from weird angles, and his movements, mate. It was such a cool fight, such a fun fight.
Yeah, well, I said in the lead up when I was watching um, Tejeda's previous fights that his style reminded me of Marcus Maidana, and he's got those long arms and he kind of falls in and like turns southpaw sometimes, but I'm not sure if he's doing
Yeah,
it on purpose or he just got off balance so he stayed there, and he's like an unorthodox but sort of style, but a super effective one too. And he's tough as nails, man. Like, so he actually has two losses. He had two fights in the IBA. He lost the 8-round decision against the Kazakh at 80 kilos, and then he fought back to back after that. Two-time Olympic Cuban gold medalist Alan Lopez, and got stopped in the third round. But he got flogged in that fight, but he never hit the deck. The doctor stopped it when his nose got pretty badly broken. So, look, Lopez may have got the highlight finish like Paulo did.
yeah,
We will never know. And Paulo certainly got hit a hell of a lot more and went through a lot of more of adversity than Alan Lopez did. But at the end, he ticked all the boxes with that incredible finish. And the amazing thing about this fight, and like Paulo's 29, so I don't know how much you can learn at 29, like 10, 11 and 0 now at 20, almost 30 years old is kind of a little bit of a strange proposition in terms of pro career, so inexperienced, but he's still got the maturity and the time in the gym of being an almost 30-year-old. So yeah, I'm not sure how that's going to translate, but like he went through so many things in that fight. Like, that's one fight. All the experiences that he had, from like a blistering start to having to adjust in the second round in fighting. I thought he lost that round. In the third round, it was a infighting masterclass by Paulo. Like the way he turned it around, it was unbelievable. Then he 4, 5, 6, and 7, he goes through the adversity as you mentioned, and the hands are down, and he's totally gassed. He's got that explosive style that you could see the petrol tank almost on empty. He got the second wind, and started getting back on the jab. The 10th round starts, and he gets a highlight reel knockout. Like he just learned or had the experiences of an entire career within one fight.
yeah, yeah,
Like, when you think about it, it was pretty amazing. So I
yeah.
can't wait to see the next, like how much better he's going to be for that moving forward. What were your thoughts on from sitting ringside, mate? Like that, I know how much fun it would have been, but like it would have
Yeah.
been an emotional roller coaster, wouldn't it for you?
Mate, yeah, it was a roller coaster. It was you going through, and just to see him have to work things out on the fly and then come through it was really positive. I think it was one of the more hopeful sort of things to come out of the fight, is that um, he had to solve about 7 different puzzles, sometimes by himself in the middle of the round, sometimes going back to the corner. Um, but he came through it. He answered all the questions, and I'm just trying to think back. I'm sure it's the deepest he's had to dig, and sometimes you don't know whether you can keep going until you're there. And
Yeah.
and it looked like at one point, when he flopped down on the stool, I thought he was spent and gone. But then it was the very next round. I think he copped some in the first 20 seconds, and so maybe it like woke him up or something. Guys say that, like, he was feeling it, and then that just sparked him into action. And I think he landed one big shot, and it kind of changed the momentum of that round, and ultimately the way the end of the fight went as well, because he that was the sort of upswing, I suppose, after going down and almost getting stopped by the looks of it. So yeah, such a fun fight, such an interesting fight. I haven't watched it back. I really want to go back and see, with the benefit of hindsight and knowing what happens at the end, how it all happened. There's about a minute, scary minute every now and then you get a knockout and the guy just
Yeah.
goes back, he's out, cracks his head on the floor, and you're thinking, geez, please get up, move, do something, and he's still for felt like ages. It's probably 30 seconds, but yeah, he eventually got back up and was able to walk out. But you won't. I don't know how you're going to beat that for knockout of the year domestically. It's crazy.
Man, that was wild. And mate, do you know who the actual matchmaker is for No Limit?
So I know Trent Rose does a lot of it,
Okay.
and I won't. I know Justin Kennedy helps, like his like advisors from time to time. I don't know whether he was involved in this one or not, but he often is at least the voice in getting
Okay.
fights made.
Yep.
But Trent Rose is the sort of matchmaker on record for them, and
Okay.
does a lot of that work. Yeah,
Yeah, well, over the years, No Limit have been very aggressive matchmakers, whether that's Trent himself or that's just their sort of philosophy as a team or whatever. But man, when they get it right, God, they get it right. And this was like the perfect fight at the perfect time for Paulo. I thought, and yeah, it absolutely delivered in spades. And Tejeda was unbelievable. Like that guy's a warrior. We knew he was tough because
yeah,
he gets stopped by Alan Lopez in his next fight. He had an absolute 8-round war where he was knocked down multiple times and stopped Sanderson Diaz, who was 19-0 back in the Dominican Republic. Like, check that fight out on YouTube if people just are drinking beers on a Sunday afternoon. They got nothing to do. Like, that's a banger of a fight. So Sanderson Diaz, excuse me. Luis Tejeda is fearless, so there's no doubt he'll bounce back. And yeah, thank God he was okay after that heavy knockout. But mate, interesting there. I didn't know that they had made this match with a specific comparison to Kira Rustin. And when you said it, I was like, oh God, is Kira even really like Tejeda in style? Like my gut reaction and what I'm thinking now is like not even really at all. But I have to like look into that because they seem to know what they're doing. But even still, mate, like that's a great fight if that were to happen next, Kira Rustin and Paulo. But I don't know, something about me feels like maybe they're at different. I'm not saying Kira couldn't compete with him, but just in terms of like where their careers are at, like Kira's kind of still building. He's a bit younger.
yeah.
Paulo's like, pushing 30 and he's had 11 fights. Like it's sort of time to go. Like if you're going to go, it's now. I kind of feel like that might be, yeah. I don't know. How do you, I feel a little uneasy about that matchup. I'd be pumped for it when it came around, but like now that we're talking about it, nothing's official. Like, how do you feel about it?
It's been one. Like they both talked about it. No, they go back years, like to amateur days and
Hmm.
trips and stuff like that. So they've both been on each other's radar, and they've both mentioned the other. And it's one that sort of naturally has just got people talking. Like you nailed it there, where Paulo's at one point of his career, which is just a unique kind of career trajectory with some of the fights and decisions and stuff that he's made over the last couple of years. And
Yeah.
He was actually older than you think. I've still look it up. He's young in his career, but he's older than a guy with the number of pro fights he's had.
Okay.
But you're right, in terms of his career, he's not as far along. But I think that, like, domestically, it's such a great matchup. Um, it's one of those ones potentially where it's you build it up right. It's maybe they have another fight or two each on big stages to get their profiles up, but then when it happens, it's the launch pad
Hmm.
for one of them at least. But yeah, a really good, and I still think evenly matched domestic fight. Having watched what Paulo did yesterday, you got to, I suppose, maybe give him the edge at the moment. And I'm not sure what Kira's got I would imagine Kira's maybe fighting in the next month on one of the
Oh,
shows coming up. Well, I don't know that for sure, but I'm sure that he will appear sometime in the next month.
okay.
Um,
I haven't heard
as I
anything
bring
about Kira lately.
up his box rec to see if
That's what
he's got anything.
I'm doing that as
Um,
well.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, if and whenever it does happen. See, Kira's 28. Um,
Mm.
no,
I
no,
thought
28.
I thought he was younger. Sorry, mate. No, good
Yeah,
pickup. Yeah.
no, yeah. I remember doing the exact same thing. Going, oh, he's 9 and 0, must be 23, 24. But he's a wee bit older. But if and when it does happen, cracker of a fight. And I suppose, yeah, Paulo put in that performance, and everyone sort of talking about him and you know what he was able to do and the level of the guy he fought. You're like, all right, give him he's the favourite, but now the ball's in Kira's court whenever he fights next to match it and see what he can do. So, look, not that it's on the same level, but hopefully we get there unscathed and undiminished like AJ and Tyson Fury on the
Oh
weekend.
Jesus, yeah,
I'm not even
definitely.
excited for that fight anymore.
Oh man, it would
Okay.
be. Well, I probably will be like when it's when I wake
I'll
up and
watch,
check the
but
highlights. I'm not getting up early to watch it,
yeah,
but yeah, that's a whole different podcast. But mate, we got a couple of minutes left. But while we're talking like heavyweights, I know I've spoken to you so many times about a potential Conor Wallace and Paulo Aokuso fight. Which if there was a domestic fight that I'd want to see, that's the one.
yeah,
But
that's the
understandably.
one.
Yeah, Connor Wallace has got that massive opportunity with Ben Whittaker coming up, I think October 3rd to October 4th Australian time, over in Birmingham, which is a massive opportunity, and we're absolutely pulling for Connor 100%. But I mean, if we're just talking about possible scenarios, if he were to lose that fight, I would love to see Connor Wallace come back and Paulo Aokuso finally sort of square off there. So the light heavyweight
Yeah,
division at the top end in Australia is there's going to be a lot happening in the next sort of 6 to 12 months. It's an exciting time.
yeah, absolutely. And look, like I say, like I said that the Kira Paulo fight has been 1 years in the making. With the Conor Wallace Paulo Aokuso fight is even longer in the making. Years going back, they were
Yeah.
talking shit, and this guy doesn't want it, and he didn't sign a contract, and the money wasn't right. They're pricing themselves out, blah blah blah. So yeah, that is spot on, mate. Like, obviously you hope Connor goes over and gets the win and moves on, but if he doesn't, then that's a great fight to come back to anyway for the fans.
Yeah.
And you'd imagine Paulo be right up for it after what he was able to do on the weekend as well.
Yeah, for sure, mate. We'll watch that division nice and closely over the coming months for sure, mate. And also on that card, mate, I know someone you've covered for a long time and, I've gotten to know pretty well. Paul Fleming was back. I actually tipped him I thought he would have too much experience for Ahmed Reda. I certainly underestimated Ahmed Reda's boxing ability. I categorized him more as kind of like a pressure fighter and someone that if he were to have success in this fight, he would just have to outwork Paul Fleming, which he largely did, but his talent and his boxing ability and his boxing IQ impressed me. I think he's improved really rapidly,
Yeah,
and I think we've kind of seen the limitations of just a life and a lifelong fight. I remember watching Paul Fleming in the amateurs at the Reggio Calabria Club in 2005 for the 2006 Com Games trials, and we're the same age. I think I was in year 12, and he like blew my mind. And Nelson Ali got the whistle put on him by Todd Kidd that day, and I still thought Paul Fleming was the boxer of the day. So I've never met him like you have, but I've always had a soft spot for Paul, and it seems like just all that wear and tear in all those years, he's definitely a slow
yeah,
and up in weight, slower version. But what did you make of it, mate? Especially considering you guys are sort of close connection over the last couple of years.
yeah. That was a tough one for me because I've known Flemo for 5-6 years now, and such a cool character, and um, just such an interesting dude. He's got 7 kids, and he's had a life, and he's done all these things, and he talks to you about all this crazy stuff whenever you get into a chat with him, and he's just an interesting dude. But I've gotten to know Ahmed as well, really well the last couple of years too, since on his rise, through boxing, the boxing circles, and we Ahmed used to go to Killer Boxing in Marrickville, and I train there every now and then. Haven't been in a while. Sorry, Killer. But used to cross paths with Ahmed and his brothers there too. The younger brother, I get them mixed up because there's so many Redders, but there's a younger brother. I can't remember his name's Joey or might be Muhammad. One of them they reckon is like even better. Like he's the gun of the family, the rising star. So keep an eye out for the younger Redder. But
okay, there you go.
In a classic sort of old versus young fighter, I did think Ahmed would take it. And like you nailed it, sort of an aging sort of Paul Fleming tried to wind back the clock. Didn't work out, and then you sort of, as entertaining as it was, you sort of watching that fight, and he's calling him in and showboating a little bit. Obviously, like that's his showtime. But when you think back to his prime, his absolute prime, and what he was able to do, you sort of there's like a little bit of a disconnect in terms of, I guess, the what the body wants to do and what it's actually able to do, especially when you got just a young hungry bull like Ahmed Reda. Mate, Ahmed went to No Limit on Saturday morning and said, "I'll fight Stephen Fulton. Like, just put me in." And yesterday afternoon after the fight, he was like, he wants to fight Liam Wilson. He wants whoever's at the top of lightweight, super featherweight. He wants them in Australia to the point of, obviously he's going to say he'll fight Fulton. It's good publicity and whatever, but he would have done it. He absolutely would have fought Stephen Fulton on the weekend if given the opportunity and the bump and pay.
Absolutely. But we're right up on our time, Brendan, so we'll finish it up there, mate. But just quickly, just 1 minute. We recently announced Nikita Tszyu Benmani event, I think is for the end of August. Will you be covering that one in person, mate?
We'll be on that one, August 26th. I want to say that date is
Wednesday the 26th. Yep.
The word around the chaps is we'll be heading back up to southeast Queensland. Gold Coast, it looks like. Expect an announcement over the next week or so, I would imagine. But looks like the Gold Coast, Nikita Benmani. Good fight, that one.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Wednesday night, so that'll definitely be a pay-per-view. But awesome, Brendan. I've keeping you right up to the limit on the time, mate. But maybe I'll have to reach out after the 26th and get you back on, mate, and we'll do it all again. So.
Yeah, mate. Any time. I'll make sure I don't have to. Like, I reckon last time we went for like an hour and a half, and we're only halfway through the cards, and we could keep going until 6 o'clock. So
no, mate, you're a man.
Mate, always enjoy the chat.
You're a man in demand, so I appreciate you making the time for me, mate. But we'll do it again in a couple of weeks. We'll see how we go. So.
Sounds good, man. See ya.
All right, guys, and there we had it. That was my catch-up chat. 24 hours, basically to the exact hour from the completion of Tim Tszyu's unanimous decision victory over Errol Spence Jr. with returning mate of the show and great bloke, Brendan Bradford. So as usual, guys, all of the links to follow along with Brendan on his social media and also at his outlet that he writes for, Code Sports, which also includes all the national newspapers from every capital city in the country, all in the description of this episode. So click along and follow along with the best fight night event coverage in the country from our good mate BB, Brendan Bradford. So that was a ton of fun, guys. So just a couple of little notes. This was a little bit of a shorter episode. We didn't have enough time available to get to everything. So there were a couple of reasons for that. And the main one was my technical difficulties, ongoing technical difficulties. So guys, I won't bore you with the details too much, but I mean, using this awesome program called Riverside to record the pods the last couple of years, which has been fantastic. It actually has a built-in AI that does all this stuff. Like, that's how if anyone's seen the reels on Instagram with the captions or the YouTube shorts, like the Riverside program does all that automatically. I don't have to make them. I don't even know how to make them. So that's why I just post the ones that the AI inside Riverside determines will get the most traction or whatever, and I don't know, it's got a whole thing that it sets up. Anyway, it does all that. So this program's like $270 a year, but it makes life a lot easier. For whatever reason, we could not get it to work on Brendan's end, which is a damn shame when you're paying a couple of $100 or something a year. So I had to pivot to Zoom, which I know tons of podcasts use Zoom and they record the Zoom files and all that sort of thing. I've never done it before, so I had to quickly do like a crash course and learn how to do it and set it up and all that type of thing. So that chewed into the time a little bit, unfortunately. My limitations and familiarity with Zoom, that kind of stuffed us up a little bit. And then Brendan obviously was at work on a super busy day post massive Australian fight night, so you could imagine how much under the pump he was, and he had to get, I think he said he had to actually write another story and then go to another event, so his day is far from over. So we only had a smaller window of time, but I was very appreciative to Brendan for the time that he did give me. He easily could have said, mate, I'm just too flat out today, I can't do it, but he made himself available, which I massively appreciate. So a little bit of a shorter episode, guys. I had a heap of other stuff that I wanted to get to, because you know how it is. I could talk to Brendan for like 4 hours. That obviously didn't happen, but yeah, obviously we didn't even get to Callum Peters on the undercard, his 7th round stoppage victory over Ivan Ricardo Actus, who, just like I miscategorized a little bit of Ahmed Reda and underestimated him, I underestimated Ivan Actus too, not in terms of his ability or his willingness, but certainly in his toughness. My God, that is one tough, brave man. I thought this would, 2 or 3 rounds for Callum rather easily, but I'm not saying Ivan Actus won a round, but God, he stayed in there for a long time and he tried his guts out the entire time, and he was getting bludgeoned towards the end. I thought it was a good stoppage by the ref, but Callum Peters doing what Callum Peters does. Is there going to have to be evolution, especially defensively and offensively throughout the next couple of years? Absolutely, but I believe he's capable of it, and he's always in fun fights, and the guy just has no fear. It is unbelievable, and a pretty quirky personality as well. But the Callum Peters train's still on the tracks, and we move forward. Guys, I actually missed the prelims. I didn't watch these fights at home. I watched them at my parents' house, so I was actually driving, so I didn't see the female fight or the Brandon Gratch Ike from Pluto fight either, which I'm assuming only got put together the day before, which was pretty crazy. So I haven't actually seen that fight, so I can't comment on it. But also there was so much news, which if time permitting, which again was my fault with the Riverside program not being able to work and then having to learn Zoom. So that's on me. But I had tons of other stuff to talk about. Like obviously there was so much Aussie boxing news at the moment. And, we got the Nikita and Ben Marnie fight, Jai's suing the IBF and names Eddie Hearn in the lawsuit. Eddie Hearn wants to sue him back if he doesn't take the name out. Like, that's insane. We've got the second Matchroom show coming up soon with Terra Moana headlining, and the Matchroom debut of Michael Zarafa, who is also on the card. Connor Wallace coming up against Ben Whittaker. A massive fight in New Zealand, Floyd Masson and David Nyika, which is going to be an absolute banger. I can't wait for that fight. And also this upcoming weekend, we got Lamont Roche Jr. and William Zepeda for a vacant lightweight title, with Raymond Murataya on the undercard defending his recently won title that he won when he beat Andy Cruz in that sensational fight earlier this year, and he's defending it against Robson Conceição. That's actually a pretty damn good card on DAZN coming up. Where is it? Let me click on that BoxRec tab. There we go. Raul Curiel and Quinton Randall for a welterweight regional title. Charles Conwell coming back after his recent loss. And also a fighter. There's a 10-0 heavyweight with 9 knockouts called... he's on this card too, fighting Gergen Hovhannissian, who's 10-0 himself. Now, the New Zealand heavyweight's name, I'm going to butcher this name, but I'll give it a go. Uila Mawao, I think. Difficult name to spell, but man, 10-0, 9 knockouts, and given an opportunity in America on one of these DAZN and TNT cards, that's a massive spot. So I think it's the 5th fight listed down on the BoxRec schedule, which, as we know, always gets changed around. They rarely get it exactly right as it's going to be the order on fight night, but a good chance that Uila's fight may potentially be on that TNT broadcast in America. That's a massive spot. Two undefeated, 10-0. heavyweights. Why wouldn't you put that as an opener on a card? So it makes sense to me. But yeah, there was heaps of stuff to talk about, guys, but that's fine. We'll just roll all that stuff over to the next pod coming up. So talking about the next pod, guys, haven't got anything figured out yet. I haven't got anything booked in. I was more just worried about this month. We actually did a show a week in July, which is the busiest we've ever been. Obviously, the last episode was a solo hit out because the guests that I had organised fell through. I had to postpone multiple times and then just fell through altogether, which... yeah, it was disappointing because we're on such a great run. But yeah, so I ended up having 3 different guests and also a hit out. It would have been four guests, which would have been fantastic. But yeah, the busiest month ever on the TUSC. So I'm going to pat myself on the back a little bit there. Will I be going weekly every month for the remainder of the year? Probably not. Still going to stick to the new benchmark this year, or my new goal this year, of 2 to 3 episodes a month. Obviously, it can be hard sometimes with the schedule, and it can be hard sometimes to get availability for the guest as well. So I think 2 to 3 is the most realistic goal. But who knows? Maybe there will be a month before the year's out where we end up going weekly and we pump out 4 shows. That would be fantastic too. So no plans yet. Haven't even looked at the schedule, but there will be something popping up in the next week or 2 for sure. And guys, if you want to get in contact with me, you can send me an email at tuskpod@gmail.com. That's TUSCPOD@gmail.com. If you want to throw a tweet at me, you can do that at delivery_man2. Guys, also got the YouTube channel and the Instagram page. They are just at TuskPod, both of those. The links to those are in the description of this episode as well, so if you want to follow along, you can do that there. If not, all good. So guys, that is us. We are done and dusted for the month of July. Thank you very much for listening. Thanks for the support. Like I said, it's been the busiest month we've ever had, and I've got some really, really good feedback about that, which is super encouraging too. So to those people that took the time to reach out and give me their feedback, which was largely positive too, which was a great relief, and yeah, something I was very excited and appreciative to hear. So for those people that reached out, thank you very much, and I'll do my best to keep it coming moving forward. But guys, that does us for today. Congratulations to all the fighters that competed yesterday. It was a great event. Should it have been a pay-per-view? Absolutely not, but we'll save that for another pod. So guys, thanks very much for listening or watching, however you're doing it, and enjoy the fights, and I'll chat to you later.
Road less travel may add up to change. Living like there's no tomorrow, then tomorrow came.
Going all out.
I was living like there's no tomorrow, then tomorrow came.